All right. Good morning, everybody. It's Monday morning, and it's not exactly a mellow Monday show, but I think we can keep it relatively mellow, even though we're going to be talking about peace talks, trying to resolve a war. Got Mario with us this morning, of course. Of course. Good morning, sunshine.
Good morning. I went to bed early last night. I put down, I was tired. I listened to my body. I put down the bottle. I put on my jammy jams. I crawled into bed. And here I am.
I went to bed at a reasonable hour, around 10.
hmm
So of course I've been awake since 2 o'clock. But I got the chickens out when the sun came up, so everything is good. Let's talk about Russia, Russia, Russia. So what happened this weekend, Mario?
Well, this weekend, we have new peace talks between the Trump administration and Vladimir Putin administration. They're going to be held in Alaska, which is historically significant because Alaska used to be Russian territory. We purchased it from them. Secretary of State Seward, I believe, or whatever,
Correct.
way back when, was it under the
For
McKinley
$7
administration?
million. dollars.
Yeah, $1 million. Yeah, which was a great deal. But
Well,
yeah,
basically we owed Russia about $7 million for some. The United States owed Russia $7 million for some blockade work they did during the Civil War, which materially contributed to the North winning over the South. And this was kind of a quiet deal to settle that debt without making a bunch of noise, and kept Russia from getting its toes stepped on as we shoved their border back.
yep, didn't know that, but thank you. Right, so
Oh yeah, you want to talk about Russia interfering in American politics? I give you the War of Northern Aggression.
I was not aware there was a Russia Civil War connection. Okay, that's new for me. Um, so right, so peace talks being held in Alaska. Obviously, it's going to be under real politic lines this term. Basically, Ukraine will be losing territory. All right. Um, and Ukraine will be losing territory, and Ukraine will not be a member of NATO. Okay, this is probably the best deal Putin has gotten from the United States thus far. I don't anticipate Congress is going to be able to do much to prevent this deal from going through, um, and hopefully it does happen. All right. Now the thing is, Zelensky might not be angry. Zelensky's probably pissed off about this, okay? But Zelensky at this point has largely been shut out of the deal, okay? Of whatever the peace negotiations are going to be. Zelensky has shown himself as a basically or is arguing in bad faith. He's a bad faith member of
He's
any
an intransigent
coalition.
child.
Yeah,
Zelensky
an
has
intransigent child.
at least twice, at least twice, Zelensky has actively sabotaged these peace talks.
Right.
So when Zelensky came to the White House and had the press meeting with Trump and Vance, all of the reporting leading up to the meeting suggested that basically a peace deal was all but done. We were going to take on some mineral resource rights and do some business with Ukraine. So essentially getting America directly invested in having an actual national interest instead of what we have right now. Right now, the American national interest in Ukraine is the Democrat Party is supporting it because they're the most efficient money laundering vehicle available for Democrats to launder funds outside of what is it, Act Blue.
Right.
So with USAID being shut down, Act Blue under the gun, about to go to court over some massive frauds that they've been committing and money laundering that they've been caught up in. Uh, Ukraine is one of the last vestiges of active Democrat money laundering left. Plus, you look at as we've talked about before, Zelensky went from being a stand-up comedian who played the piano with his penis to being a multi-billionaire overnight, and he doesn't want that tap shut off. And that's not even getting into the threat to Zelensky's life that is the end of the conflict.
And let's take it a little further, okay? Zelensky, okay, and Ukraine represent a pet project and money laundering operation for a particular subset of the United States government, okay? It is the Democrat Party and the increasingly irrelevant never Trump neocon element of the Republican Party, okay? So it is a dying portion, a dying section of the United States government. This is their project, and um, as their power wanes, so does Zelensky's. Okay, Zelensky's essential message the entire time has been, well, you must support me because, well, democracy, which you don't even have in Ukraine anyway. Okay, if you ever had it in the first place. I mean, we've been fucking with their election since 2014. Okay,
Right.
and by we I mean the
They
CIA.
theoretically had a democracy. The official narrative is that Zelensky was elected in a free and fair election.
For
But
life.
let's not forget, Zelensky suspended elections 2 years ago.
That's right.
There was supposed to have been an election where Zelensky probably faced ouster
Right.
from the electorate in his country. And instead, he declared state of emergency, martial law, and suspended elections.
He's president for life. Okay, as it stands right now, he is president for life until something dramatically changes. And that dramatic change is going to be you're losing eastern Ukraine, and you, Mr. Zelensky, might want to have a good backup plan for where you're going because a lot of people want your ass dead. All right, so brass tacks here. What is on the table? The eastern three provinces of Ukraine, okay, Luhansk and Donetsk and Odessa. Yeah, Luhansk, Donetsk, and Odessa. Odessa already is Russia. Okay, the fact that Ukraine still wants to argue that Odessa is not settled geopolitical science is absurd. Okay, Russia has held Odessa since the Obama administration. All right. Those birds have flown. That's never coming back. You had your chance, Zelensky, in the summer of 2023, I believe it was, when you did your to great fanfare. Like, you literally had an advertising department for it. Claimed that we're going to have a summer offensive and there'll be a beach party in Odessa by August. Okay, this was
yeah. He might as well be arguing. He might as well be demanding that he keeps Crimea.
Right. This is like Virginia demanding that West Virginia is in fact Virginian soil. Okay, it's done. Okay, it's fait accompli. I know it's a totally different situation, just whatever. Anyway, so yeah, Odessa is Russia. All right, now Luhansk and Donetsk, these eastern portions, eastern provinces of the Ukraine, they always were predominantly Russian speaking. Okay, predominantly Russian settled areas, right? And they were subject to terror attacks by the Ukrainian government and its paramilitaries throughout the Obama administration and going into the Trump administration. All right, so there's been constant attacks against the Russian-speaking population there to get them to flee back into greater Russia, right? Russia obviously was pissed off about this, and that is at the heart of why there was the special offensive declared in 2022 in the first place. Okay, that is and that's a pretext that Putin has used multiple times prior to the Russo-Ukraine war. Okay, if you remember in Ossetia, all right, in Georgia, persecution of the Russian minority there compelled Russia to basically move in there, and over the course of a week, basically stomp people, kick ass, and then leave, right? So there was another province where Russia has done this as well, of another country. I can't remember the one. But as of right now, Russia does stand to gain from the cessation of hostilities as well. Russia's economic situation is not great. They've got some of the highest inflation in the world right now, okay? They've lost at least 100,000 men in the course of this military campaign over the past 3 years, which are shocking and horrifying. Casualties not seen since World War One. Well, no, that's not true. No, I kind of look at the Russo-Ukraine battle line.
It's bad enough that the Ukraine is starting to draft men who are over the age of 60 and men who have sub 30 ASVAB scores.
I'll get to Ukraine in a minute, but with Russia, okay, they've lost a lot of people. All right, for in the modern warfare age, all right, this isn't the age of this isn't like Battle of the Somme where 300,000 men go die and then we formulate what we're going to do the next day. Okay, like the age of ludicrous casualty warfare is over, especially given the demographic replacement issues that exist in the West. Okay, you can no longer send that many men to die and expect your nation to survive. So Russia knows this, right? And Russia knows that this war must come to an end. Russia holds the upper hand on the battlefield. Ever since Russian forces were pushed back in late 2022, after they started getting armed in full by the United States and NATO, basically given our best weapons like the Javelin missile, St. Javelin, right? Everyone remembers the memes. Russia got pushed back into basically Donetsk, Luhansk, but ever since then, it's basically they turned on the orc machine, okay, and it's been a slow grind, constantly in Russia's favor, with Ukraine constantly losing territory. That is what's been going on for the past 2 years. Ukraine is constantly losing. Russia is constantly gaining, and that math on the battlefield is not going to change. Okay, and everybody knows that. Even the Ukrainians, despite their delusions, they know that it's not going to change. All right. The only way you were ever going to expel Russia completely from the Ukraine, all right, and have your 1991 borders again, would have been a full boots on the ground effort from the European, from NATO. Okay, NATO entirely. All right, that was the only way that was going to happen, but that would have been done at immense casualties that would have been unsustainable politically in the West, and would have resulted in probably an escalation of warfare to the point of nuclear strikes. All right, with Russia, so that was not going to happen. All right, and it was the lies and like the meme machine from the left, right, from the government itself, that kind of kept the idea in the American public's mind, at least amongst the soft-headed ones, right, that us being involved in Ukraine was going to be for any good, international or domestic. All right, it was a lie. It was a lie from the beginning, just like Zelensky himself. Zelensky, now with Ukraine, like Russia, like Trump said, they don't have any cards. Okay, you don't have any cards to play at this point. You were given, like, you played your hand, you lost, and then the United Kingdom gave you a fresh hand of cards, you lost. The United States gave you a fresh hand of cards twice, and you lost those hands as well. Okay, you lost. Okay, you lost. Now you are conscripting after you murdered all of your millennials and your Gen Xers. Now you're sending the boomers to the fucking front line. Okay, and if people like Lindsey Graham got his way, psychopaths within our own government, they'd be sending the high schoolers as well. All right, to the last Ukrainian, that when Zelensky said to the last Ukrainian, that was a promise. Okay, to democide, all right, to genocide his own population, for at the behest of foreign powers. All right.
Yeah, and just a reminder, this guy. That's him. That's the Ukrainian president on the left. Yeah, this is a serious man.
Bear in mind the average IQ in Ukraine is 90, okay, which is why that might be considered funny there. Whereas you would look at that and cringe, okay. But these are the lesser Slavs. Sorry, Zelensky.
The sub-Slav.
Sorry, Zelensky. Don't kill me.
Anyway. The Slavitos.
Slavitos. I love that. Right. So, yeah. I hope that a peace is negotiated. I hope that
slovenly.
But The bottom line is the American public voted overwhelmingly that we wanted an end to this war. Okay. And Trump himself in his campaign, he's like, well, there'll be peace within 24 hours. Never would have happened. Never would have happened if I was president, right? Well, turns out it's a little more complicated than that, wasn't it, Donnie? But if it gets done in the end, that's what matters.
Let's go back real quick. He did say over and over again that it never would have happened while he was president. And there's some truth there. There's a lot of truth there. Under every president since the fall of the Soviet Union, Putin has expanded his territory, taken land, right? You got Crimea, etc. So under Clinton, under Bush, under Obama, Putin annexed new territory. He didn't do that while Trump was in office. That is not a coincidence. And then the move on Ukraine, it wasn't just that we brought in Biden, who was visibly weak. There was a lot of escalation of foreign tension while Biden was in office because, unlike Trump being in office, they were pretty sure that Biden wasn't going to drop a Moab on him. Right? There is a certain element of madman unpredictability that Trump has that we've seen is very, very valuable. We've heard the foreign leaders explain it themselves. We don't want to screw around with this because there is a non-zero chance with Donald Trump that he will order a Moab or bigger drop on our forces. We've seen him do it, right? But it wasn't just that Biden was viewed internationally as a weak, feckless leader with no capability. An opinion held, or an opinion bolstered even further by his just disastrous drawdown of Afghanistan, where, let's not forget, Trump had negotiated a withdrawal deal. Trump had a plan in place with dates, explicit dates and explicit deals with Taliban leadership. Hey, we're gonna draw down Afghanistan. We're gonna pull out. And Biden came in and changed that plan. He reneged on the plan, right? Completely shattering any faith and credibility that the world at large had in the word of the American government, right? Fuck our credibility. It's over there. And then on top of all that, by shutting down Keystone XL, shutting all of that money into the Nord Stream 2, and all that even further exacerbated by Zelensky playing his little fuck games with maybe I'll join the UN, maybe I won't, maybe I'll join NATO, maybe I won't, thinking he can tiptoe back and forth across the fence. I hate to defend Putin, but the fact is what you're looking at with Putin and Zelensky, Russia and Ukraine, this all came about because you had three bad guys, Biden, Putin, and Zelensky. There were no good guys in the situation. Now you've got Trump coming back. He's at least, in theory, a better guy than Biden, right? And in practice, a more practical and a more effective leader than Biden, right? But then you get down to Zelensky and Putin, and what you're looking at is Putin is evil. Zelensky is evil and treacherous.
Yep. Well,
Putin may be pure evil, but Zelensky operates in bad faith. And so we're told that Zelensky is an ally, and yet he continues to sabotage our attempts to draw down this conflict because he has a personal, not a national interest, a personal interest in keeping the money tap running. He wants that machine to go burr.
What I would say is you don't have to support Putin in this. You just have to recognize a fact. Okay, when you're dealing with Putin, all right, you are dealing with reality. When you are dealing with Zelensky, you are dealing with fantasy. Okay, and this is a fantasy that we can no longer afford. All right, not that we ever could in the first place. No good. No good has come from our interaction with Ukraine. No good has come to the United States from our this proxy war that we are in with Russia. I can't. Can you name a single positive outcome of this for the American people thus far?
No, and
No.
okay, so we've talked before about how Israel's not a great ally because there's no benefit there, right? And I've even given Mario some pushback when he makes that point. Not really pushback, but making the point that, okay, I want you to look at all the allies we have and understand that this is true of all of them. There has been no profit, no net benefit to the United States from any of the allies that we have currently. But here's a key difference with Ukraine. With every other ally we have, including Israel, at the beginning, at the inception of our alliances with these other nations, there was the theory that there would be some value for America gained from the alliance with those countries. There was at least a public fantasy that we were entering into an alliance in good faith for the mutual benefit of both trading partners, right? That never existed with Ukraine. So, Mario points out that no good has come from Ukraine, from our alliance with Ukraine, from the situation in Ukraine. I want to make it very clear that there was never even the theory that any good could come from such an alliance. And that's because everything involving Ukraine was entered into not by the American people or the American government, but explicitly by the corrupt Democrat money laundering operation that established itself in Ukraine for that purpose. Never could there have been any good coming from the Ukraine under the circumstances that we entered.
Democrats and John McCain and Lindsey Graham, okay, among others.
Yeah,
right?
Democrats.
The Uni Party, okay?
Yeah.
The Uni Party, all right? Take a moment here. We can look at some of these chats. Be Controversial says North Koreans still think it's that kind of war. They've lost so many over it. Well, with North Korea, you have a population which is where the institutional capture of the mind is so complete that the Kim family can tell them whatever the fuck they want to, and yes, they're going to rush into battle and die. Okay, that's a total different psychology.
The average the North Korean citizen does not understand that technology has advanced.
They don't understand that there could be anything but Kim Jong-un, Kim Jong-il, right. Kim Il-sung. Okay, they don't understand.
Kim Il-sung, president for life. Kim Jong-il, the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. I'm sorry, not for life, president for eternity. Right? Kim Jong-il was never the president of North Korea because they have this religious dogmatic adherence to the idea that Kim Il-sung is the president for eternity, even in the absentia of death. Likewise, Kim Jong-il is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces because the next highest job is president, and that job is filled by the ghost of his father. The current leader in North Korea, Kim Il-sung, Kim Jong-un, it was the great leader, the dear leader, and now we have the brilliant comrade.
Yes.
And he is not the commander-in-chief of the military, technically. His official title is he is the leader of the Workers' Party.
On a long enough timeline, the North Korean government will be staffed entirely by like the 9 Witch Kings from Lord of the Rings. Okay,
yeah, and the actual living instantiation of political power will be the chief dog catcher.
Be Controversial also says no one was willing to put boots on the ground for Ukraine, but they were for Russia. Yes, because it was advertised as, hey, join us, make USA take the L. Okay, that's a powerful draw. Okay, make America take an L. Okay, a lot of people were down for that. North Korea, obviously. Sergeant Major says U.S. should ignore Ukraine and annex Canada. At this point, I would say no. Canada is now a poison pill. If you want to annex Canada, there needs to be some genetic hygiene there first, flushing of the immigrant populations that they have absorbed in the past 10 years. Sergeant Major Millie and Austin are responsible for the withdrawal from Afghanistan being what it was. Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
I have no argument there. all defense manufacturers are making money. Yes, if we could pin that comment, I want to touch back on that when we get to how the neocons are reacting. Okay. Great. So do you want to move on? So, okay, in summary, there's going to be a peace negotiation. I pray this goes through, because I just want this to end at this point. Okay. I just want it over. And I think most sane leaders want this over as well. Okay. So I want this peace. Yes, Ukraine is going to lose territory. All right, significant territory, but that's the price. I don't want Ukraine involved in NATO at all. I don't want this to be basically a tripwire for future war. Okay.
Right.
And that's it. So you want to move to the, I guess, next article, and we'll see how the Europeans are coping with this.
Yeah. So a coalition of European leaders released a joint statement on the 9th, welcoming the news of President Donald Trump's upcoming meeting with Russian President Vladimir Putin in Alaska, and stressing the need to ensure that European and Ukrainian interests are protected as the two leaders talk about ending the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Right? And again, the conflict is between, in theory, on paper, publicly, the conflict is actually between Ukraine and Russia. Right? We shouldn't have a dog in this fight. The only reason we do
because of our money laundering
because cynical sociopaths have been funneling our non-existent U.S. capital into Ukraine. And more than half of that money has vanished. It's just disappeared into the black hole of startup overnight Blackwater wannabes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The legions of defense contractors in the Ukraine, okay, who on paper are building all these fantastic fortifications around the country, who are procuring arms for Ukraine. No, the majority of it is going into the personal wealth of insanely, nakedly corrupt individuals. Okay, and you know what? I bet a lot of that money is going back in kickbacks to the EU as well, to ensure that the European Union stays invested in this project. Okay, this losing project. I have no doubt about that. Okay, so joint statements from France, Italy, Germany, Poland, Britain, and Finland are: we share the conviction that a diplomatic solution must protect Europe and Ukraine's vital interests. They agree that those vital interests include the need for robust and credible security guarantees and enable Ukraine to effectively defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. Okay. Well, once again, I'm going to ask you, what cards do you have here? What cards do you have? None. If the United States pulls out of Ukraine completely, Europe cannot fill that gap. Okay.
Right.
And then you're looking at a situation where the entirety of Ukraine would be, we're looking at the reestablishment of the Soviet Union. Okay, you're looking at the complete Holy Russian Empire, all right, being refounded, which is what Putin wants. Okay, Putin does want the reestablishment of the Holy Russian Empire. Okay, right now he's got the Russian Federation, but yeah, you don't. I don't think you have as much a say in this as you think you do. Okay, and let's be honest. Most of it's because United Kingdom, France, Germany, are you really going to be able to field an army? No. Are your citizens going to fight for you? Fuck no. All right? Why the hell should they? You're on a campaign of demographic destruction against them, okay? You are traitors against your own people. You are murderers. You are civilizational murderers, the governors of UK, France, and Germany. No one respects you. No one will fight for you. Okay, your own youth will not fight for you, and the legions of genetic filth that you have basically let crash and maintain against your shores, they're not going to fight for you either, because they're already at war against your people that you refuse to protect. You're disgusting. You are the least respectable governments on the planet. No one should listen to you. If the United Kingdom says something, the entire world should ignore it. If France says something, the entire world should ignore them. If Germany says something, the entire world should ignore them. for what they do to their own people. Fuck you.
Yep.
You have no say. You have no say in this at all. I get mad. Okay, I get really mad because I'm a white advocate. I'm a white advocate. Okay, that's my politics, and basically the governments of UK, France, and Germany are more of my enemy than the Russian government. Okay, because the Russian government's way the fuck over there. That's not really my problem. My problem is our historical homelands. All right, so
which are on fire.
Yes. All right. Now that
literally and figuratively.
So what the European Union is, what NATO, okay, the European Union, pretty much interchangeable at this point. They're going to try to stuff as much.
Bear.
Yeah, we got bear. Absolutely. So the European Union, NATO, whatever, same thing, pretty much. They're going to try to stuff as many rounds of ammunition, as many vehicles, as much war material, and as much cash into Ukraine as they possibly can before the siphon gets shut down. Okay, that's going to be the general idea here. That's what they're going to try to do behind closed doors. Okay, going on in secret. During these negotiations with Putin. Okay, that's what's going to be going on there. So. Will that have much substantial effect on the outcome? I don't think so, but they're going to do the best they can to create the opportunity for a future conflict, which they will not be able to defend against. So it makes no sense, but the European Union doesn't make any sense either.
Well, the EU is saying that international borders must not be changed by force. No, that's not a general principle. That is a thing of which you are desirous.
We, the European Union, exist outside of all history. We exist outside of history. Okay, the lessons of history do not apply to us. Right. Territory cannot be taken by force.
And Zelensky says,
"You're a child."
And remember, right? We laid it out earlier. You don't have to be a fan of Putin to recognize that. Putin was staring down the barrel of some hard choices, right? You may not like the idea of Putin stretching out to take over more of Ukraine, but imagine that you are the leader of a country, and here's the analogous equivalent. Imagine if Canada was signing a deal to join a UN-style organization comprised of China, North Korea, and OPEC, right? Let's imagine that China, North Korea, and OPEC created the anti-UN, right? And then Canada started playing these back and forth fuck games. Will they, won't they, won't they? And threatening to join this union of not even necessarily fully enemy states, right? You don't even have to, Russia doesn't even have to consider the UN to be an enemy to have a legitimate concern about the UN stretching over and basically capturing territory that is directly coterminous to his borders. That's what Putin was looking at.
Yep.
Right. So if all of a sudden our concern becomes, oh, now hold on, Canada is about to become an ally of China, of the Chinese Communist Party, Chinese Communist government, and create basically a staging point where China could begin staging and building tanks and armored vehicles, launching aircraft without having to cross the ocean.
You want to know what's scary? They already do. They already do.
Yeah.
There are secret Chinese bases on Canadian soil. But yes, your analogy is correct. Okay, or what if Mexico? What if the United States lost the Cold War? Okay, what if it was basically the U.S. Okay, and that basically only the United States only has influence now in the Western Hemisphere. Okay, and let's say the Soviet forces are constantly encroaching from the south up to the United States, and they're at the point where now they're staging weapons, okay, in Mexico, and they're actively lobbying for Mexico to join the global Soviet Federation. Okay, the
Yeah,
United States,
right.
the United States would have a
It'd
serious
be
problem with that. Okay, for obvious
right.
reasons.
In fact, the exact situation would
Let me
be
get
that
coffee. I'll be right back.
you've just passed the Cold. Yeah, go ahead. You just passed over the Cold War. Russia has total control of South America, and the moment that is analogous to the Ukraine-Russia situation is Mexico, which is politically independent from South America, is suddenly talking about joining in a coalition with Russian-controlled South America. Right? We're doing some alt history here to make the analogy plain, to help you understand. But you don't have to agree with Putin's politics or the way he runs his country to understand that there is a legitimate, reasonable casus belli.
He has an existential reason to resist.
Yeah. Yeah, he has a legitimate existential concern, a legitimate existential casus belli for his entry into Ukraine. And again, I cannot stress this enough. That was exacerbated by Biden's policies. By Biden's policies on energy independence in the U.S., by the assisted funding to the Nord Stream the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, which shifted energy production and consumption in Europe so that most of European countries were suddenly buying the majority of their oil from Russia, right? Before that shift, before the shutdown of the Keystone XL production, the surrender of U.S. oil independence, and the additional funding to Nord Stream 2, India got something like 12 or 13% of their oil and energy purchases from Russia, and then after the switch, they escalated that to almost 80%. And that's a direct result of Biden's bad energy policies.
See, I don't even have a problem with a pro-Russian energy policy in Europe. Okay, it actually economically makes sense, right? Because Europe has like incredible amounts of intellectual property, okay, and machining capacity for high grade, high precision, okay, like extremely high tech manufacturing, okay. You know what the European Union does not have? A substantial domestic energy production capacity. Okay, they have no oil. Or Norway has oil. That's it. Okay, in any real capacity. So, an alliance between Russia, which is on paper, the most resource-rich company on the planet. You have to understand like the size of the territory. All right, of the Russian Federation. Right, there are effectively unlimited, untapped resources out there just waiting to be discovered. All right, I mean. If I lived in Russia, if I was Russian, I would want to be like on the geologic survey teams. I think that shit would be cool. Like go out camping out in the wild, you know what I mean, searching for gold and shit. That'd be awesome. Okay, that would be my job if I lived in Russia. But
go do that in Alaska, man.
No, it's no. Well, this is. But I wouldn't be 44 already. If I was going to do that.
I'm too old. I'm too old to be happy anymore.
Let's just say, if I was too old to get in the commercial diving industry, okay, at 37, I'm probably too old to get into the geologic survey and hiking into the vast expanses of Siberia at age 44. Okay, my job, for better or worse, is going to be stuck in front of this fucking screen, talking to people, whether it's you people because I enjoy it, or it's other people because I have to do it for money. So, anyway. But yeah, so I mean, that it's literally economic. It's a perfect economic, cooperation
Shitstorm.
there.
It's a
Exactly.
perfect economic shitstorm.
Russia, we have unlimited energy, but we don't have nice stuff. Europe, we have nice stuff, but we don't have any energy. Wow! See how easy
Right.
that was? That was Germany's policy, okay, for decades.
You have
Does it
wheat.
make sense?
I have cows. We should do business.
Exactly. Yep. We got the bread. You got the beef. France has got the mustard. Let's put together a hamburger stand, right? All right. Anyway, so I guess we can move on to these neocons. Wait, see if we got any
These
chat here.
neocons.
Be Controversial says Putin did declare casus belli on Alaska. He said it wasn't sold legally. Okay, well, I mean, sure. Well, Ukraine will get Odessa back, and we'll give Russia Alaska back. Okay, there's your lasting peace. Okay, Be Controversial. That's it's not going to happen. All right. Pipelines keep oil out of oceans. Yes, they do. And right. Okay. So, oh man, everybody's favorite mustachioed villain, John Bolton. Okay, back in the news. So, I have a feeling that this is sliding very quickly into Russia's direction. He described it as Putin seeking to take advantage of Trump. Right? These are the Russiagate people. Okay, like, and part of the reason this is happening right now. Okay, is because the idea that Trump, okay, has been somehow manipulated by Vladimir Putin or the Russian government in general. That has been a prevailing meme by the left for the past 5 years. All right, and no matter how untrue it is, okay, no matter how many times they get caught, no matter how much money they spend on basically investigations to try to prove this point, it never gets proved. Okay, I would have thought that this type of thinking would have ended the day that Robert Mueller unveiled his special report, all right, on the Trump administration and Russia, where it was revealed that the emperor has no clothes. Mueller was actually a senile man fumbling around with papers who had no idea what was even in his report, okay, because it was bullshit. It was bullshit from the start, and the recent revelations about the foundational documentation that went into this investigation against Russia, or investigation into Trump regarding Russia, it was all done under bad faith. Okay, it was make believe from the start. It was bullshit. Okay, Russiagate is dead. It's dead. But it does have this mimetic power apparently with some people in D.C. Where it's always basically their prevailing emotional factor. All right, which is madness. So, of course, the neocons are saying that, this is Trump's surrendering. Trump's surrendering? What's the alternative? Another 100,000 men dead for the same outcome? Is that preferable? No, we know what it is. It's the arms industry. Bolton represents the arms industry. They don't want that unlimited war machine money to get shut off. That's the issue.
And so this idea that Trump is surrendering, Trump can't surrender here.
That's right, Big Danny. We got him this time.
Trump's got two options here. He's got two options, right? Either he says, fuck it, we're going all in, and we're going to go ahead and put boots on the ground, commit American direct military action to subdue Vladimir Putin, crush Russia, and end this conflict on behalf of Ukraine. He could do that. It'd be ridiculous. It would get China and North Korea much more involved directly and kinetically. It would be bloody and psychotically dangerously damaging. And it would almost certainly involve an escalation into nuclear attacks on, even on American soil. Or he could shut off the tap to Ukraine and stop assisting Ukraine, right? There's no surrender option here because we are not in directly at war with Russia. We can't say, you know what? We're going to pack up our shit and leave. Ukraine has to do that. If Ukraine can surrender, and Russia can surrender, right? And between the two of them, Russia does not benefit from a surrender. There's nothing for Russia to gain from a surrender. There's everything for Zelensky to gain by surrendering, because that's the only way, without America guaranteeing a peace condition as a sort of enforcing arbiter. That's the only way Zelensky gets to see an end to the conflict, right? So there's no value to Putin for a surrender. There's not even a possibility, in a very technical sense, for the U.S. to surrender. And Zelensky's being shut out because in the several cases that they have tried to include him, in the several cases that they have tried to discuss what is going to be done for his benefit,
he's still not
he
serious.
has sabotaged them.
No.
He sabotaged it, right? So you've got mommy and daddy got a divorce. They're arguing over. They've been arguing over custody, and the 13-year-old kid has run away from both of them. Has snuck out in the middle of the night and run away from both of them after several attempts to go to the table and say, "Well, do you want to live with mommy or do you want to live with daddy?" And the kid keeps running away. You know what? No more choices.
But we can still keep track of him because he stole daddy's credit card and he's using it.
Right. So now we're going to put an ankle monitor on him and send him to military school.
Mm-hmm.
Because we've come to the point where it's clear that you're not operating in good faith. You do not have the intellectual maturity and wherewithal to act on your own behalf and in your own interest. And your continued antics and sabotage are causing harm to everyone else, to the U.S., to Russia, and to the Ukrainian people. Now, you are an intransigent child who can no longer be trusted to operate in your own interest, let alone anyone else's interest. And so you get the fucking collar.
The only card Zelensky has on the table right now is the fact that he has the capacity to conduct basically CIA-supported terrorist attacks within Russian soil. Okay,
right.
With the unrestricted drone warfare. Okay,
and the only thing he can achieve with that at this point, because of the limited capacity that he has, is to sabotage every attempt at peace.
Is to sabotage attempts at peace. Okay, now let's just so what does Zelensky have to say about this peace deal? Okay, peace negotiations with Trump and Putin. Okay, well here's what he has to say. This is the very thing Zelensky is vowing never to do. He said in a Saturday video address that Ukrainians will not gift their land to the occupier. You're not gifting your land. You lost it. Okay, that's like saying that's. I mean, what kind of military strategy is that? Like we've lost X territory. Okay, to the enemy. Okay, well. Clearly, it didn't matter to us anyway. We gifted that to them. Like, give me a fucking break, dude. You didn't gift them anything. You're losing. You lose every day. Every day you lose more and more territory. Every day you have fresh, horrible losses for your armed forces, which are basically scattered at this point, okay, and demoralized, utterly demoralized. And Zelensky says, any decisions made against us, any decisions made without Ukraine, we are at the same time decisions against peace. He then clarified Ukraine's position further. They will bring nothing. These are dead decisions. They will never work. Okay. Well, that's why you're not at the table. That's why you're not at the table, fuckface. Because you're not serious.
Because you're not a serious person.
You are living in fantasy land. Now, I'll tell you what's not a fantasy. What's not a fantasy is Zelensky. When this is all over, he's in danger. You're in real danger, sir. Okay? Have you noticed what happens to people who get in bed with the United States and then once the romance is over? Have you noticed what happens to those people? They die. They die horribly. Okay? Exactly. Unverified says, we will not gift the Titanic to the sea.
Bro, it's sunk! Bro!
It's over. It's over. Okay. So what? I guess we can close on a little humor here. All right, everyone in the chat. Where is Zelensky? Where will Zelensky flee to when this is all said and done? Okay, take your bets. All right, place your bets down. So here's his options. He could, one, stay in Ukraine and risk getting Mussolini'd by the people. Okay, like straight lampposts. You know what I'm saying? And they, I mean, there would be a populist justification for doing so. Okay, how many Ukrainians have dead family members because of this war? Probably all of them. Okay, at this point, all of them. Zelensky's dead. Okay, if he stays in Ukraine.
Yeah.
So let's see. Option B, he can go to Israel. Okay, he is Jewish. He has the right to return to Israel at any time. Okay. The problem
but he's the wrong kind of Jew.
The problem with Israel is, higher level Mossad type Jews, they have no problem with sacrificing little fish Jews. Okay, if it serves their benefit. Okay, big fish eats the little fish in Israeli politics. All right. Secondly, there is
the gefilte fish.
The gefilte fish, yes. So. Also,
I've got one for Argentina, one for London, and one for Albania. Nope.
Okay. Only one of those is serious. Also in Israel has a very large Russian Jewish population. Okay, and a lot of those people they're not like full-blooded Jewish. Okay, we're talking like quarter Jew. Okay, half Jew at best. Okay, they're more Russian than they are Hebrew. Okay, by any stretch of the imagination. So, not saying that they would want to kill him, but if there was an offer, if someone put out a hit on the guy, okay, and there were Russian Jews in Israel who could reasonably collect on it. Ooh.
Have you seen this guy? He's like 3.5 feet tall. He'd just go on the menu.
Yeah, he'd be getting porked in the tool shed. Okay, like he's got. Don't shave that beard, Zelensky. People might get the wrong idea. But there are Russians in Israel who, for a price, would certainly whack him. Okay. Next option is the United States. Right. Can't go to New York because you got the same Russian Jew problem there. Okay, same scenario. It's Miami Beach. Okay, so another heavily Jewish enclave in the United States. He could go there, and he'd be fine for a while. But you see, then he's got to deal with the stochastic terrorism of living in Florida. Anything can happen. You never know. Okay, in Florida,
right?
Some meth head whack job could just fucking take down.
You caught me with an eighth gram of marijuana, but I mean, this is Florida, yo. You had to drive by 3 meth labs and a dead hooker to get here.
Yeah, yeah. So Southern Florida is an inherently dangerous place. Okay, so he might have limited celebrity status, but he would have to have a very, very expensive security detail to live long term in the Miami.
Well, you can buy a lot of expensive security with all your laundered U.S. import dollars, USA dollars.
Right. With $100 billion that you stole, yeah, you can pay for a lot of security. Okay, and then the last option would be London. Okay, I think unverified is correct. London, would be his best bet because you have a government that supports tyranny. Okay, a government that would protect you. Okay, and basically a disarmed and shattered population. So that would be the safest place for you, probably London. Yep. And unverified says he goes to London. They all run to London, even if they were fighting Britain when they were in power. Absolutely.
Yep.
That's right. You just park your ass right there within the City of London Incorporated, okay, which is the economic nexus of the entire Rothschild international banking system. Yes, that is the safest place to be, right there at the source, right there under the evil eye of Sauron, okay, and Mordor itself is the safest place for you to be, okay, 100%.
Oh man, I gotta do that real quick.
What? The eye of Sauron. You're gonna do Big Ben, except it's got the Eye of Sauron instead.
Nope.
Nice.
I wonder how long it'll take the AI to generate that particular image.
That should be easy. That's just a 1-for-1 swap.
Well, it is, but it's got to search images, do some comparison, and then blend them together. I could probably do it faster in Photoshop myself, but then I'd have to stop talking to you and do it.
Aaron Olson asked, did you discuss the possibility of Russia annexing Ukraine? No, not this war. That would be if there is no peace. Okay, that would be an inevitability. Okay, but no, Trump won't agree to that. Trump. With Trump, that won't happen. Okay, you'll get Eastern Ukraine is basically, Eastern Ukraine becomes Russia. Novorussia. Okay, that's what you're going to see.
Now, in fairness, almost any other Republican president would probably accept that as a peace deal.
Yes, yeah. It's just the facts of the battlefield dictate that Ukraine has lost land. That is simply, it is. Them's have been the rules ever since Tribe Ugnor and Tribe Thorak. Okay, fought over the valley where the wild grains grew. Okay. Someone's going to lose land as a result of losing conflict. That's how it is. And that's really all I got for this morning there, Cristobal.
Yeah, I probably need to wrap it up and get on the road myself. So thanks for watching this morning, you guys. Mario, I'll be right back with you. I'm going to shunt you over to the side for a second. Let's see. What do we want? I got 1776 coffee. I got, you know what? These guys are offering to pay me the most.
So it says Novia Russia. Yeah, very nice.
So set your clocks, mark your calendars, and buckle up for the best NFL primetime football action. Starting September 4th on Westwood 1, you can catch all the bone-crushing hits, last-second heroics, and edge-of-your-seat action that NFL Thursday, Sunday, and Monday nights offer to you. Whether you're tailgating, driving, or chilling out at home, don't miss a single snap. Listen on the NFL app, the Westwood One Sports app at westwoodonesports.com, or just say, Alexa, open Westwood One Sports. If it's the NFL, it's on Westwood One. So y'all can go check that out. Just check the description below, and there should be a link to the Westwood One app. I'm not super happy about having the ad read requirement attached to doing the show and staying in the program now, but in fairness, they do pay me to do it.
Just do it. That's right.
So, thanks for watching this morning, guys. We love you, and we will see. Where's
Big Ben? Where's Big Ben Sauron?
I was about to say it just finished.
Okay.
And it didn't do a good job.
Never mind.
Okay. That's just Big Ben on fire.
Well, unverified.
It's not even really Big Ben.
Good to see you too, mate.
Try it again. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Yep. Ciao. Turn the camera off.
Patrick asks if I feel a little dirty after reading those. Yeah, I do. Honestly, except for the Rumble one. I'm pretty comfortable reading the Rumble one, but it doesn't pay as much.